Coming up now on Animal Outtakes, stabilizing the seafloor, providing hope for future generations. We tour the Kings Bay Restoration Project in Crystal River, Florida. See how a model community partnership has made a big difference, both above and below the surface. Plus, find out how biologists are sharing seagrass from Crystal River to help manatees being rehabilitated at a Florida state park. And a little later in the show, we show you how this sweet guy is changing the lives of those in need without even saying a word. This and much more straight ahead on Animal Outtakes. It is estimated that 1 acre of seagrass can support at least 40,000 fish and millions of small animals, which is why so many have worked so hard to restore Kings Bay in Crystal River. Algae had built up and suffocated much of the area, causing poor water quality. The main culprit, Lingbia, a blue-green algae that can be found in water with high nutrient levels and organic content. So in 2015, the citizens of Crystal River had enough. They formed a nonprofit called Save Crystal River and took jars of this algae straight to the Florida legislature, asking for money to get it cleaned up. The project involved removing the muck, replanting with eelgrass, and maintaining the restoration site. The Florida legislature agreed that the Lingbia-filled springs were an issue and allotted money to the restoration efforts. Since then, Sea and Shoreline, an aquatic restoration firm, has been working to remove the mess. In the beginning, some were saying it was impossible. But as you will see, 6 years in, a little bit of faith and a lot of hard work have made a huge difference. Take a look.
So we are in Kings Bay, Crystal River. We are just going past the Lingbia processing site as part of the Kings Bay Restoration Project. And what they're doing, as you can see the machines moving around and everything, is they're actually taking muck and algae and all the gross things that are on the bottom of the river, and they're pulling it out, they're removing it. Their goal is to create a situation where the bottom is suitable for plant growth. So instead of having muck and algae and all those gross things that make the water look, kind of yucky, we're going to replace that with native plants that will make the water look clear, will provide habitat for fish, provide a food source for manatees, and really keep this entire system much more stable.
Biologist Ryan Brushwood says the work that's being done has changed the course of this entire ecosystem. The mindset: take away what shouldn't be there and replace it with what should.
We are going into the 6th year of the project. We've directly planted 50 acres, and that includes the muck removal and everything. But what that has correlated to is the spread of these plants out to what we estimate being 100, 200 acres. It's kind of just taken off like wildfire.
It created a snowball effect that has led to plants escaping outside of the original project footprint, colonizing around the rest of the Kings Bay, and it has turned the water from an algae-dominated system back into a plant-dominated system where they have year-long forage for manatees, ducks, turtles, snails, fish, you name it, it's here now. Seagrass and submerged plants are so important to water bodies because they provide primary forage for food. They sequester nutrients, they build up and store carbon, they oxygenate the water system, and then they stabilize the seabed. They are critically important to a healthy estuary.
Hundreds of manatees migrate to Kings Bay and Crystal River each Florida winter, which makes the location one of the largest seasonal refuges for manatees on the state's Gulf Coast. This can make the area a tough spot to give the newly planted plants enough time to survive before being eaten.
Here in Crystal River, you have one of the highest manatee populations in the wintertime. They use it for warmth, for thermal refuge during the winter. And they love to eat seagrass, along with many other things. Love to eat eelgrass here, really any kind of submerged aquatic plant. And it can be a challenge in the project. So one of the ways we have overcome that is by protecting it temporarily with cages. We use pre-rooted plants that are going to establish quickly and do their thing, go down there, shoot out their roots, shoot out their rhizomes, and start growing. And we check on them each month too and give them whatever they need to ensure that survival.
They have come so far.
This is about as restored as it gets. This is the end goal right here. This is why we do it. This is what we plant. This is eelgrass, Vallisneria americana. It's a freshwater macrophyte that serves many similar ecosystem services as seagrass. It's so clear, right? So it's hard to imagine, and I tell people this, but when we first started, you did not have this water quality. You didn't have this water clarity. There was a nasty cyanobacteria called Lingbia that had come in and kind of taken over, acting as the primary producer for this system. The only way I know how to describe it is gross. Nasty, nasty, gross stuff. And we may see a little that's still hanging on, but imagine instead of these eelgrass meadows, it was mats of this algae. And people didn't want to swim in it. It's actually toxic to small animals like dogs. It's just a mess.
Over the years, we've had some issues. We've had saltwater intrusion, we've had hurricanes, we've had people with too much fertilizer, we've had this area all had septic tanks that drained. That's taken care of now. So it wasn't just one issue. And so then all the detritus came down, and then it was disgusting. And my house is right around the corner, and there was a point 4 years ago. I wouldn't go sit on my back porch because it smelled so bad because of the Lingbia. And when I retired from teaching, I was like, oh, I'm going to go out. And so I was cleaning it up every day, and I said, this isn't working. Save Crystal River is a group of community people. It's a nonprofit, 501c3, but it was just local people who said, we've got to do something here. This just isn't working. This isn't our river. Actually, the president and the vice president contacted Sea and Shoreline and a few other things, and they found out what might work. And there were so many naysayers. Oh my gosh. They said, this isn't going to work, you're crazy. And it's working. And everybody's excited. Everybody. The county, the city. We even had we had a few teachers who were like, that's not going to work. And now this is working. This is awesome. It's awesome. It's proven.
By eliminating the factors we could control, right? And planting these native plants, removing this muck off the bottom, we gave this system a spark that it needed to recover. And I absolutely think that model can be replicated all throughout the state. We started a very similar project last year in the Homosassa River, which is another spring-fed system here in Citrus County. It's about 15 minutes down the road. And we're very early on, right? But we followed that same model, remove algae, remove muck off the seafloor, plant native plants, protect them, monitor them, maintain them, and see where it goes.
Biologists hope that the success that they've had here can help with the serious issues we are seeing in the Indian River Lagoon.
I know that the Indian River Lagoon, people talk about, there's all kinds of projects looking at addressing nutrient loading and muck removal and things like this, as well as planting. There's definitely work going on, not only here, but all throughout the state to fix our water bodies and fix these places that we call home. When I look back on where we started and kind of where we're at now, it's a huge sense of pride. And I'll be honest, at the very beginning, I think like a lot of people, I was a little nervous. There was a lot of sleepless nights. There was a lot of naysayers at first, and rightfully so. I mean, this is a project that, really hasn't been seen before, hasn't been done before. And just kind of seeing where we're at now and seeing these grass beds form and seeing the fish come back and seeing the crabs and the invertebrates and seeing the manatees stay here year round, it's just exciting for me. They say around here, when it comes to manatees, you either love them or you really love them, right? And they're, a huge part of the community in Crystal River. In the past, when they would come up here, they would come up for the warmth, but they would have to wait for warmer days to go back out and feed out into the Gulf. There was no food source for them here. And there's people that talk about them trying to eat mangroves and trying to eat sawgrass and trying to just eat whatever they could. Well, now they can come in the wintertime, they can stay warm, and there's a food source for them, so they don't have to leave and risk going back in the cold and risk hypothermia. Seagrass, or submerged aquatic vegetation that we're planting here, is such a keystone species, and it's so important in just keeping these systems healthy and helping them to provide the ecosystem services that they need to provide.
Also important to note, during manatee season, biologists work closely with state agencies to map out areas they can successfully work without disturbing the annual migration patterns of the manatee. Coming up next on Animal Outtakes, we take some of the seagrass to some hungry manatees at Homosassa State Park. See how sea and shoreline are doing their part in helping rehabilitate some of these mammals. That's next.
What's going to happen to me if something happens to you? That's when Dante's 10 steps in. You can make plans for your pet's continued lifetime care in the event you can no longer be there for them. Amenities include spacious dens, medical care, area to run free, and a swimming pool. Plus, all the love and cuddling your pet needs 24/7. Call us or visit dantes10.org for more information.
Welcome back. Just like trees, seagrass can shed its leaves. And according to biologists with sea and shoreline, that means it could lose and regrow up to 80% of its biomass each year. So instead of letting it go to waste, the company is collecting it and taking it to the Ellie Schiller Homosassa Springs Wildlife State Park.
So we actually have 3 manatees here today in care, and we want to make sure that we can provide natural food for them rather than lettuce from the store. We're providing seagrass, which is actually American eelgrass shed from one of our largest projects up in Crystal River. So in the wintertime, we lose about 80% of its biomass, and we're able to collect that and bring it down here for the manatees to eat. But usually when they come out, they're pushing a wake, they're coming so fast. And these manatees, they're 800 pounds and of pure muscle. It doesn't look like it, but they are. We do aerial surveys. We find the cleanest grass sheds throughout Crystal River and collect that. It's loaded onto a barge where we actually sort through it. It takes a couple people and a couple hours to sort through and make sure there's nothing that would be harmful. And we then deliver it to the manatees for them to eat. So nice, clean, natural grass for them. So we think that this is important to shed light on some of the issues about the manatees having such a catastrophic loss. It's been covered a lot on the news, but we want to show that there is a lot of hope from some of these restoration projects that are happening throughout the state. We want to show that there's hope through these restoration projects to restore their natural habitat. They eat roughly about 100 pounds of food per manatee per day, and we deliver between 700 and 1,000 pounds of grass each week. And that does last all week, so they get fed 80 to 120 pounds of grass per day, and that is in conjunction with lettuce. But the delivery of this grass has cut their budget for ordering lettuce quite substantially, so this helps. It's definitely a passion project. Not everybody is quite as lucky as we are to have a job that is so fulfilling. And just being able to get outside and seeing the world around you, being involved in your community and seeing the effects that we as people have. There's negative effects, there's positive effects, and just being able to be a part of that positive impact around you and in the environment. Not everybody gets to grow up and do this, but there's always volunteer opportunities. There are plenty of opportunities to impact your community and the environment around you in positive ways.
For more information about the work Sea and Shoreline does, you can go to their website at seaandshoreline.com. Coming up next on Animal Outtakes, how this gentle guy is helping others through some of the toughest times of their lives.
I need a vacation. Life is exhausting. I want to relax and enjoy some me time. Then Dante's Den is the perfect place for your vacay stay. Spacious air-conditioned dens, plenty of room to exercise and run, and a pool to swim in. Whether it be an overnight stay, short or long-term, Dante's Den is waiting for you. For more information, visit dantesden.org. Ah, my land shark in the water!
Therapy dogs are dogs who go with their owners to volunteer in places such as courtrooms, hospitals, and nursing homes. These animals and their owners work as a team to improve the lives of others. Here on the Suncoast, some of these teams spend their time volunteering with Tidwell Hospice. With hopes that the therapy dogs can elevate moods and provide tactile stimulation, and quite often, the gentle canine becomes the vessel by which patients and their caregivers communicate. Sally Ann, we have a true celebrity here, don't we?
Yes, we do.
And this is Cracker.
Yes, Cracker.
And we have visited with Cracker before.
You have, yes.
And he is still working hard.
Absolutely. He got trained through, I did basic obedience classes, actually through the Humane Society of Sarasota. And then we did his Canine Good Citizen test. And then after that, he went through Bright and Beautiful, which is the organization that hospice uses to evaluate and certify the dogs that they use in the pet therapy program here.
Is there any particular breed that they suggest, or?
No. Any breed, any age, any type of dog. It's obviously preferable if they're good with other dogs, good with people. And he just gravitates towards people. He loves people. So I'd had pet therapy dogs before, and that's why I decided to put him into the hospice pet therapy.
So a lot of the patients that we serve are limited to being in bed. They're not mobile anymore. And if you think of someone who's in a nursing home, can't get out of bed, can't access activities, may or may not even have any family in the area, when we bring things to their bedside, like a therapy dog, it might be the only interaction they get that's not being fed, being changed, being bathed, or any of those day-to-day activities. So they get some tactile stimulation with being able to pet the dog. They obviously see their faces. Whose mood wouldn't be elevated by looking at a dog like Cracker or one of other therapy animals? But they also will start to communicate and reminisce. So they may have been in a nursing home or somewhere without their pet for 10 or 15 years, and they'll start telling us their story. I had one like that, or I had a boxer. I showed dogs all my life. So they'll be able to reconnect with some of their history in a way that maybe couldn't have been brought out any other way. And the other thing we see with our families is that sometimes they don't communicate well. It's a very difficult time, and they just sort of shut down. When we bring a therapy animal into the room, they start talking. They almost start using the animal as a vessel to communicate. And for that reason, we've also started using the pets as we're able in some of our grief programs and our blue butterfly programs to just help people feel a little more comfortable.
It's definitely a distraction from everybody else who's coming into somebody in a hospice patient's life. You know, most of the people are coming in they're doing something clinical, something medical, maybe they're asking a lot of questions that the person isn't ready to deal with. So a dog is just a dog. It brightens whoever's in the rooms. Well, obviously, if they like dogs, it brightens their life a little bit. And we're not asking any questions. We're not asking anything of anybody. Sometimes they just want to sit and love on him. Sometimes they just want to hug him, and he's been cried on. And especially if it's someone who is really reaching the end, and there are a lot of people in the room. Sometimes there's children, so he gets to play and just cause a little bit of a distraction and a little bit of a light relief.
Now, you and Cracker have been doing this for quite a while.
Mm-hmm. About 5 years.
And you do this as a volunteer.
Yes, total volunteers. Yes.
Tremendous hours.
Yep, it's worth it.
What makes it worth it?
Seeing the people that he visits. I'm secondary. I'm really, truly, I introduce myself usually as his driver or his personal assistant. He's the one who just goes to the person, and to see somebody's face light up when they see a dog. Maybe they're in a facility and they've had to get rid of a dog or lost a dog, but there's always a smile, there's always a story, and it just makes people's day. And there's never been a time when I've taken him anywhere where there hasn't been a person who said, I didn't know I needed this today, but thank you.
Do you think he enjoys it?
Yes, I know he does. I know he does. He knows when the jacket comes out from the closet and a bandana goes on and the dog leash, he knows he's going somewhere.
Is he a dog, though, on his off hours?
Oh, yes. Yes. If we bring out a tennis ball, you will see a completely different personality. Lizards, the little geckos, he loves those.
We understand what it is for Cracker to do this. Mm-hmm. What is it for you?
That's a good question. I just believe hospice is near and dear to my heart. That's why I started with hospice with him. My mother went through hospice, and I've been a volunteer with them for quite a long time prior to coming in with Cracker. Yeah, it's just, I get so much out of it. I get joy out of it, seeing people just who maybe have had a rough day, or they're having a rough week, or they're having a rough year, or whatever, as many of us are having rough years right now.
Rough years.
It just, I just enjoy sharing him. He's my, he's a really good friend. And I just enjoy sharing the love, I guess.
It's just a great gift. As Sally Ann said, it does involve some obedience training. The dogs do need to be able to do basic commands, sit down, walk nicely on a leash. Doesn't look very therapeutic if the volunteer's flying down the hall behind the dog, but they need to have control over them, safety reasons. But they don't have to be obedience champions to be a therapy dog. It's more about the temperament. and their ability just to sort of be a presence. But it's an incredible gift. We have volunteers of all ages that do pet therapy. We have dogs of all shapes and sizes. There was a Saint Berdoodle, I believe that is that's a breed now, and it was up to my waist when it walked down the hallway. But it's wonderful. Some of them can be put in the bed, some can be put on laps, some are just the right height to be pets. So it's great to have a variety, and it's such a great program for everyone we see.
I would just encourage people, if they have a dog and they have a few hours a week or a few hours a month, to think about doing some regular volunteering, or if you just want to do pet therapy, make a phone call, sign up, and try it. You may like it, you may not like it, but all of the organizations are crying out for volunteers. We all need new volunteers and new dogs to come into the programs, because obviously dogs age out as people age out. So, make the phone call, be part of it.
If you'd like to learn how you and your pup can become a team and volunteer with Tidwell, you can go to their volunteer section of tidwellhospice.org. Stay with us. There's more Animal Outtakes coming up next. Animal Outtakes is produced by Dante's Den Foundation, a nonprofit group dedicated to creating the best life for dogs. If you would like to learn more about Dante's Den, donate, or volunteer, visit our website, dantesden.org. We hope you had fun and learned a thing or two along the way. We'll be back here again next week with even more animals and some engaging encounters. Until then, thanks for watching.